Are you sober and isolated right now? Are you sober and just trying to push it one day at a time through this global pandemic? Are you sober and really stressed about our intercontinental madness? Real necessary uprisal, but you're like, well, how do I stay sober? It's a lot to feel. Listen, you're not alone. I'm with you. This is a podcast where we just have some like casual and goofy conversations with regular old Joes about how we're staying sober and sane during these trying times. This is Sober During Crisis. What's going on, everybody? Oh, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back in what is now my pseudo-normal, which is just, regular programming. I'm doing an intro and an outro, and I'm cutting down audio and making it palatable for the listeners. That's you. Hey, that's you out there. I'm listening. I'm talking to you. Hey, I'm talking to you. I'm glad to be back. I feel a lot less regret than I anticipated feeling about the rant episode that I dropped. I was real worried about it just being white and having to shut up, but also realizing like I have a platform. It might be small, but I have a platform, and it's my job not to be silent and therefore complicit, White silence is violence, folks, and that's how I feel about it. I also am glad that I took a step back, because it's like read the room, Am I going to drop a conversation where we joke about kicking chairs, Is that what I'm going to do right now? Well, I'm glad to finally get a chance to do so. That's right, we do discuss kicking chairs in this episode. It is, we are torn as to whether it's a healthy expression of anger or not. And I'm really excited. This week's guest is a buddy of mine from my home group. Her name is Emily, and I was so happy to get to have a conversation with her. I look up to her sobriety so much. She does so much, not only for our group, but for AA as a whole. And, we discussed some of the controversy around even just saying that, if that's within line of the traditions. I mean, she has single-handedly done some really important work in transitioning AA from the in-person paper booklet meetings to Zoom meetings that are in a now Google document. I mean, it's just crazy awesome how she has stepped up to the plate and done everything she can to keep AA going and functioning for those of us, myself included, that really need it. So here we are, we're returning to normal programming and realizing this, look, there's so much going on, and there are so many podcasts where you can get news and history, but we're going to stick to just talking about how we're staying sober from a day-to-day standpoint and what kind of coping skills are working for us. My plan is, if I can keep up my momentum, I want to try and speed drop a couple episodes, just, every 3 days, just kind of hit you with one. And I have a big backlog now of interviews I've had, but without the proof. So I can't wait for you guys to hear what's coming down the pipe. And let's learn some stuff together here on Sober During Crisis. I think she's here. No? Manage participants? No, it's just me. All alone again. In my Zoom room, I'm alone again. Chilling in my basement. Oh, there she is. Hello.
Hey.
What's good? All right, I got my camera on. I just look so annoying. Like, how annoying do
Okay, if you don't want to.
Scale of 1 to 10, how annoying do I look? Like I'm about
Not
to
that annoying.
Radio Free Roscoe you or something. What are you eating?
Meatballs and potatoes.
Oh, that's the most Polish thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
They're just frozen meatballs. They're not like...
That sounds good, honestly.
I know, I didn't have time to make gravy, but I had session. I'm a therapist, so I had a session from 4 to 5, and then I had my own therapy from 5 to 6, and then I had an Al-Anon meeting from 6 to 7.
Jesus Christ! And now you're here.
And now I'm here.
All right, we're gonna make this as quick and painless as
No, take your time.
Okay.
I'm like a momentum person. Like I want to do everything all at once. I'm an alcoholic, so it's like do it all or nothing.
That makes a lot of sense. And then like tomorrow, you won't talk to anyone until our meeting at 7, probably. And you'll be like,
right,
I'll be like 15 minutes late. And
right, I'm just gonna be like playing Nintendo Switch for the rest of the night and totally off. So
Oh, are you an Animal Crossing person?
Not really. My sister plays Animal Crossing. I'm more of a Mario Kart person.
Ooh.
I have been spending many evenings like getting online with my friend and just like racing for a long time. Well, not even racing, battling, but
Oh man, is that the one where you have to hit and like you have to get all three of their balloons or whatever?
yeah, that's one of them. There's like 5 different battles, so like I don't know, they mix it up. It's random. It's pretty fun.
That's what's up. I didn't know that the Switch had Mario Kart and like collaborative capabilities. My partner has a Switch, but she never
Hmm.
lets me play it because she's always on her Animal Crossing.
Well, that's the whole thing that happened. Like my sister has a Switch, and I've been sharing hers, and then finally today, I like caved and got a Nintendo Switch Lite.
It almost is worse though because you can walk around and do it, and that's just it
Right, like
becomes
bring
like
it to the
crack.
bathroom.
Yeah, like it's like oh, I feel like we're never fully plugged in anymore. Also, probably to insulate ourselves from how
Okay.
shitty this is.
I know, but I'm like, there are places that I don't ever want to tell my sister that I've taken her Switch. So
Oh, no. She would be like hand sanitizing it and shit.
I'm like, what do you mean? It didn't fall in the sink.
Oh. Like, look, the dishes are not gonna do themselves, okay?
I'm like, I gotta take breaks.
Oh man.
I didn't wake up with it on the floor when I went to sleep with it on my bed.
Oh
I don't know what you're talking
no.
about.
Yo, that's next level. Like, that's some shit only a sister would do, honestly. My sister would be like, I didn't borrow your shirt. I'm like, who the fuck got barbecue sauce on it then? Because it wasn't me. But, like, in general, how have you been doing, like, on a day to day?
I'm doing pretty well. I think, yeah, you hear that sigh? I feel like that's kind of it. I'm like, I'm good.
That's the answer right there.
um, yeah, I feel like if I'm bad, I'm not in touch with it. I'm not doing well. And then it like sneaks up on me. Um, but yeah, I think I've been like doing okay. Like I've switched to working from home, which I obviously like have the privilege to do.
Hmm.
So that's been nice. I mean, it's not been nice. I really hate working from home. I'm like a family therapist, so I have to like meet with families over video,
Oh
and
my
that
God,
feels really
that's
hard.
yeah, that's gotta make your job literally impossible. Like, how do you assess the safety of a situation over Zoom? Like,
Yeah, I'm like trying to find games that you can play online. It just feels really hard. But like mostly it's good. Like I feel really grateful to like still being able to work, and that feels like a blessing. And also my job is busier because of the pandemic.
oh,
That
because
has to
no
do with like
one's
a lot of,
because kids aren't in school.
well, because kids aren't in school, and also just because of like the trickle down stuff based on like institutional stuff. Like it's a complicated like system thing, but basically, whatever. I don't. It's complicated, but basically, like with more kids being at home and like less likely to sort of go into institutions,
Uh-huh.
that like cranks up my job because my whole job is to try and keep kids out of institutions.
Oh man, no, that actually makes perfect sense because I'm a teacher. But I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to Zoom with my classes. They're high
Mm-hmm.
schoolers, like, but I know the kids of mine that are in therapy right now, I can only imagine are just like dying because they can barely sit through a 60-minute class without getting
Right.
mad squirrely. And I'm getting squirrely and I got a PS4, you know? Like,
Right.
also, I burnt the shit out of my mouth on some pizza just now and I just
Oh
figured it out.
no.
Yeah, it
I
snuck
hate
up
that.
on me.
You weren't trying to eat during a podcast interview. Obviously, you were doing it wrong.
See, this is what I get for eating in a bit. We could have been eating together like
I
it's
know,
a
like you have to
shared
like make
meal.
clanky sounds against the microphone.
I love that ambient
Okay.
noise though. This really adds character, you know?
Yeah, you just have to edit out my swallowing sounds because I'm not trying to like make mouth sounds on
Oh,
whatever
oh,
podcast
this
I'm
isn't ASMR? Wait, I thought we were.
in.
Yeah, I've been watching that stuff. It's mad relaxing to me.
I'm so glad you love it. I know people are like either love it or like don't care about it. I don't.
Right. I find it very
Probably some people
helpful.
hate it.
Yeah. It's like, do you know DBT?
Yeah.
So it's I find it to be very like one of my self-soothing strategies.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I
Yeah.
found it sooner. I wish I knew about it sooner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. ASMR definitely helps a lot of people. I've heard a lot of clients talk about it. I can't get into it, but
Yeah. I thought it was super weird at first. My little sister showed it to me, and I was like, "You're out of your gosh darn mind if I'm gonna watch a girl brush a microphone like it's hair." And then I was like, "This
But
is
I love how like
weirdly
freaky
relaxing."
like kids are getting. You know what I mean? Like yeah, I love ASMR. It's so creepy, and like it's not even weird, or they're not even like a freak for like liking this weird shit that like if I were like that shit in high school, like
Oh,
I would have had to
never.
like keep that shit under wraps.
Also, can you hear very soft country music coming from?
No.
Oh, thank the Lord, because it sounds like my next door neighbors and I share a basement wall, and there's a hole kind of by the furnace, and you
Hmm.
can't really see in, but you can see light coming out of it. And right now, you can hear just like America and like just other, I don't know, freedom coming through. It's gonna change the course of this discussion, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna
America
be.
runs on country, so I have some scripted questions, but I'm not very good at
Okay.
asking them. So I'll do
Okay.
my best, and then you'll do your best to answer, and then I'll edit it and make us sound really good.
Sounds good.
Oh, I was supposed to ask you to introduce yourself in the beginning, so
I'm Emily.
hi Emily.
Yeah. Hi.
Cool. Oh, are you really just holding up? Okay, because I don't know if I think I'm losing it.
I'm holding up fine. Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, there is an element of like I'm losing it, and also I feel like yeah, I mean, you're in early sobriety. Like I feel like if I was in early sobriety, I mean, not to sort of like whatever hierarchy shit, but like if I was in early sobriety, I would be flipping chairs. I don't know where. I was like I was to think about people who are like in their first year or even like first 3 years of recovery right now, like I don't know. When I think about where I was, like nothing else was happening, and I was like flipping chairs and was like really upset, and like I can't even imagine like having a global pandemic going on and being like how would I not give into my like self pitying bullshit in like a world of pandemic? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I was so in my shit when I think about that time. So I'm like hats are off to people who are getting sober, like trying to stay sober. And I know you have like, do you have a year yet? Did you just get a year?
No, I don't have a year yet. I
Uh,
have 10 months.
right.
And
Like
it's the worst
especially
amount of time to have because it's like
yes.
just enough that I got like kind of stagnant right before this started. So, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like not like you're just not on the pink cloud anymore. So you're doing the stuff you have to do, but it's just not with
Right.
the same urgency, and then it just kind of slapped me in the face, honestly.
Hmm. I know what between like 9 and 12 months. I mean, I was I had like a little bit of random stuff. Like I got to like leave the country in that time, so that like helped. But I feel like that whole time was like, well, I might as well just get to a year and go from there. Like that's the only thing getting me through is like
Yeah.
I'm so close to a year, but like
Yeah.
other than that, like why would I
Yeah,
stay sober?
I've gotten a year. I've gotten 2 years actually. I
Hmm.
got a 2 year coin, and then like
Hmm.
2 months after that, I was like, I was at really working a terrible program, but I was pretty much
Hmm.
like just I can't anymore, and that was in 2015.
Hmm.
So it's now I'm here, but I
Hmm.
think it does help. Even having the amount of times I've
Yeah.
relapsed, I think it helps. Every time I'm in the rooms, I'm getting stuff that I need, and it's just makes it easier for the next time I try.
Right.
It's the weirdest thing because I never thought I would be a chronic relapser, and I never thought that
Hmm.
even if I kept going back out, what little time clean I did have would actually matter. Like it really actually
Hmm.
mattered.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. And there's like a thing about starting your time over, but also like there's still it's part of your process regardless. I mean, I
Yeah.
relapsed at 7 months, and yeah, it was sort of just like it didn't go away. I mean, it knocked me down a peg, which is what I needed. But like, there's a reason I think in the big book it says like do more research if you need to, and there's like a whole sector of AA that's like, here, I'll give you $5, go buy beer, and not that like I fully endorse that part of
Right.
AA, but like sometimes with people, like I'm like, you need to do more research, and like I have to like trust your process with your higher power and whether you're going to get sober or not, and whether you're going to like come to the desperation and willingness that it requires. So,
Yeah, I think there's
um,
been a couple moments where I had to go, do I really need to learn this again? Because yeah, liquor stores are open, and yeah, like you were saying, like that self-pitying little voice comes in, like, everyone else is using alcohol to get through this, like, why can't you? And
Right.
it's like, well, I can't because I'm an alcoholic, god damn it. Like, there's really no, I used to hate the term, but now it's like that doesn't give me a lot of breathing room to fuck around.
hmm
Yeah.
I feel like in my first few years, like it was like I can't drink to get through this, or I'd go through like anything and be like I can't drink to get through it, and now it's like I get to not drink in this time. Like
Ooh.
that's a like what I mean. That's like a gratitude I now have that like in early sobriety I never would have thought. Like, when people said grateful alcoholic, I was like, yeah, fucking right. This is a death sentence. And like almost any time I sort of get a coin or share my story, I'm like, I thought this was a death sentence for years. Like this is the worst thing to ever happen to anyone, is to like have to get sober. And then I was like, wait. And then it just like something turned in me that was like, this is what people mean when they say they're a grateful alcoholic, is like, I get to not drink. I get to like, I'm one of the special people. I was graced with the fact that I don't have to drink, and I am an alcoholic. Like most alcoholics don't get to not drink, actually.
It's so weird because I'm still in that I'm kind of toward that grateful stage, but I'm definitely still in that, like, I can't believe I don't get to drink. Like, I'm glad I'm not, because I know my life is better. Blah blah blah. Boring, boring, boring. But in reality, like when I look at this past year, it's just the amount of chaos and bullshit that I've skimmed off the top of my life so that I can get to the trauma underneath and the whatever.
The trauma.
The trauma. You know what I'm saying.
No, I'm
Like,
just laughing. Like yeah.
it's like, oh, I am actually triggered, and there's actually no, there's no shame in it to an extent. But I wouldn't even know before when I wouldn't even know. I would just be like, I feel weird. I'm gonna have a beer, because I could be like, I feel great, and I'd have a beer. So it didn't really make a difference. How long do you have sober, actually?
I'll have 6 years in September, God willing.
Oh, 6.
Yeah.
Wait, so you've like 5 and some months.
hmm
I'm not gonna math out loud because it's not really my strong suit, but
That'll be a lot of editing.
yeah, hell yeah. Be like, okay, and I like put in a computer voice. 1 + 1 = 2. Oh my god. Oh, that's cool though. How'd you do it? But like for real, like.
How'd I do it? Okay. So I got sober when I was 19. So I don't know. It's just like so weird because like for a long time, if you had told me that, like, whatever, we're not going to get into my, well, okay. So
You're like so torn. Like, do I get into it? Do I not? Like,
let me start over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was 19, like a lot of people, I hit a point of desperation, but also a place of like trying to manipulate things. I feel like that might be like an unspoken part of people coming into AA, was like trying to like manage. Like I came into AA trying to manage my life. I was like, my life is unmanageable. Here's how I'm going to manage it. I'm going to go to AA and tell people I'm going to AA, and it's going to like solve my problems.
Facts. I would pull that out whenever shit got bad. I'd be like, "Oh no, hun, I'm going to AA tomorrow.
Right.
I found a meeting." Like that shit ain't fucking.
Yeah, I know, and I feel like I've heard a lot of people talk about that. Like in general, it's just like, no, I'm in AA. Like, actually, I'm in AA. So thank you.
That's like my mom praying the rosary for me. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Mom. It's gonna keep me really safe.
I know. It's like I don't need any accountability. I'm going to meetings.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think how'd I do it was sort of like I started going to meetings, and I had sort of hit a bottom, and I was in California. I moved out here for school, and then my school said, you can't go here anymore until you're not wild anymore.
Wait, what? For real?
Yeah, so I sort of was like going to school, and they sort of said like, you need to take a break. And I went to California, and like it was really hard because like coming from an alcoholic home, like moving away from California out to Mass was like my big break. And to sort of like have to go back felt to my 19-year-old self like a huge bottom. Like this was the place that I was just trying to get away from. Like all I wanted was to like not live here, and I lost it all within like a year. And I think that kind of desperation as a 19-year-old of like all I wanted was to get out. So
can I just say I really relate to that? I grew up in Springfield and went to college in Baltimore. And after Baltimore, I did Teach for America in Nashville. And I just kept getting further and further away. And I'm like, as long as I never... And then as soon as I relapsed in 2015, I had to move back home. Like, I'd lost everything and had to completely start from scratch. And it was that same thing of like, everything in Springfield represents all the things that are wrong with me and all the reasons I have to drink.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm back here. Of course I can't get sober. Of course I can't keep my
Right.
life together. This is exactly what's wrong with me. It was
Mm-hmm.
hard, but so I relate to that.
Yeah, and like as a young person, sort of just wanting to get away so bad, and then like thinking, and then I think that's why I was laughing about what I was sort of thinking about, like my 19-year-old self, like having to learn like the super hard way, like you don't fucking got this, like you do not have this,
Yeah.
and you need help from like a higher power and other people. And that was sort of when I look at my first 7 months of sobriety. Like I have a friend that I'm friends with now, and she has like 30 years of sobriety or something, and she sort of she talks about the first day she met me, which was like right before I relapsed because I moved back to Massachusetts at like 7 months and then relapsed
Oh God,
for
that
like 4 days.
sucks. Uh,
Yeah, and so
4 days.
yep,
Damn.
yep.
Hey, you know what? You made it that long. You probably had it in your head you were gonna relapse before you got on the plane.
I know. I mean, it was sort of, yeah, it was funny, and it was just, yeah, the relapse was a funny one. But what my friend met me like when I first got back, and she was just like, "Whoa, you just got this, don't you?" You know what I mean? Like I was like, "Know it all," and I'm still can be that way. Yeah, just I was like, I know everything, and then like relapse the next week. You know what
You
I
know what's funny
mean?
is, but I find you to be very humble. At this point, I don't know shit. I think when I was coming in, like those first couple times, and I have so many goddamn silver one day at a time coins, like probably 45 or something. And it's like, how many do you have to get before you realize, just shut up? Shut up.
It's interesting because I think where I actually found some of that energy to like shut up. I mean, it's funny because it's my home group is a beginners meeting, and I found a place to sort of like be new at something, and like you know what I mean. Like I just
Yeah.
had to be new at it and have to not know things and go through that process like over and over and over again. Like, oh, I think I know it. Oh, I don't know it. Like, oh, I think I know it. Oh, I don't. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
over and over and over again. I had to like learn the lesson that I don't got this, which I think was really helpful in early sobriety. And no one was out here being like, get the fuck out of here. You don't know shit. But no one was out here saying like, oh, it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like some balance between some tough love and some not being a dick.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I wish in some ways I had more tough love.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe I would have shut up sooner, but I like
Mm-hmm.
that you described it as like having the energy to shut up because it does take, for me, it's a concerted effort to not be the
Mm-hmm.
person I want to be, which is kind of a know-it-all and like just like I have to do it
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. And so obviously since I have to do it perfectly, I already know it perfectly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just not even how I've found like this time around. It's not even how I'm really feeling. I don't feel like I have a clue. Like I'm like I don't know. I guess God's doing something because
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waking up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk a little bit about COVID, and I know you're working from home, and if there's anything
Mm-hmm.
else that is different or particularly the same about your life now, specifically in terms of recovery, if
Mm-hmm.
possible.
Something that's really different about recovery. I think in early sobriety, and again, that's why I like can't even comprehend being in early sobriety. Like because I was 19, I was in college. I had sort of like walked away from a lot of the like social engagements of college and relied so heavily on like the going to diners and like all the fellowship stuff. And the fellowship definitely feels like something that is harder right now to do or find. But also to stay on topic of the question, I think really missing like seeing people or like the activity for the evening being like going to a meeting and having like building your day around a meeting.
Yeah.
There's less to build around right now. I think there's less, there's not the like 15-minute drive there and the building time in for a cigarette before the meeting and like,
Yeah.
there's just not all that stuff that goes along with like leaving your house and going to a meeting. And I think all of that ritual and routine is really, really helpful. And having that all be sort of shaken up and like not there. Like I used to like drive home from work and think about like, oh, do I have time to go to, you know what I mean? Like it's just like all that routine and structure isn't there. So that feels really different. It's actually funny because I think I've seen people in general like not know what to do. In some ways, like we're so privileged to sort of have this program that's like go to 90 meetings in 90 days or like just
Yeah.
show up or whatever. And like right now working with newcomers, like they don't even like they're like, I don't know 90 passwords. Like I don't know
I don't know.
I don't know enough
Yeah.
passwords to like get to meetings to go to 90 meetings and 90, like, I have like newcomers reaching out to me and they're like so confused. And then I remember like coming into AA is confusing. Like you think it's like some church or some organization that has any sort of structure, and it's like not. And so if you're coming in during COVID,
Yeah,
like
I
already
can't. Some of
AA
the
is so
meetings I've been in
confusing.
with like 400, 500 people, I'm just like, this is not helpful at all. Like, it's almost like window shopping. That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you're just looking at a bunch of people. And I know some people get a lot out of it, to know that there's
Mm-hmm.
that many people. But there's not that one-on-one connection when you're done with the meeting. I know for me, that's what
Mm-hmm.
keeps me coming, is to be like, oh, I wanted to ask blah, blah, blah if they got that job. Oh, I wanted to tell blah, blah, blah that,
Right.
like, whatever, just to do little one-offs with people. So that is tough.
Hmm. Yeah, and like the fellowship in general. I think like if you think about the whatever, I don't know how like yeah, how much to sort of talk about like AA as a program versus like just my sobriety in general. But
I don't know
um
either. We're making it up as we
I
go
just feel
here.
like there's like we're supposed to like stay anonymous or whatever, the level of press, radio, and film, and also like
Yeah.
we're in a pandemic and these things don't exist right now, and like we can't just like go to diners and talk to people. So like maybe we do need a like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a clear answer. So whatever, I'm just gonna like go with my heart, and like we can sort it out later if we need to. So
Yeah, we can snip it out later, is what you mean.
yeah, snip it out, or just in general, like if I like whatever. This
Yeah.
is just a conversation between you and I. At the end of the day, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like if you think about the three sides of the triangle, like unity, service, recovery. I think the other one. I don't know.
Unity. I don't think
But
it's coffee, but it feels like it should be.
maybe. But if you think about those three sides of the triangle, like I think unity and fellowship. No, it's unity, fellowship, service. I think.
Fellowship. That makes sense, because I'm like, isn't it
Yeah.
all recovery? So,
Right. It's like
so
unity, fellowship,
fellowship,
service.
service. I usually have my chip on me, but
I know.
I'm
It's
wearing
just
women's pants, which I don't normally do. And let me tell you, women's pants do not have pockets. Like, I think this is just a big scam by the purse industry, by big purses, to to
right.
make women have to buy purses because there's no freaking room anywhere. Like, I had to carry my car keys. What's the point of having pants on? All right.
Yeah.
That was a little
It's unity,
side.
service, recovery. Fellowship is not part
Okay.
of this
All
triangle.
right, so that was me putting on basically waiting music while Emily did the hard work and the
Right.
important research that is brought to you here on this. All right. Unity,
Yeah.
service, fellowship.
Recovery.
Oh, it
No,
is recovery.
unity, service, recovery.
Well, where is what? I feel like
Fellowship's, I
fellowship.
think, under unity. I think, like,
Huh. Okay, that makes sense actually. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Illuminati
Wow.
confirmed, everyone. Okay.
I
Don't
guess
remember what
so.
you were saying.
Uh,
Fuck.
yeah. I don't know. I'm just feeling like stressed out because of like all the different opinions. We'll talk about it. It's fine. It's just like I'm just so stressed out. I'm feeling like nervous about like because some people are like blah, 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 about
Oh,
all
I
this
know.
stuff. So
I've actually addressed this in a number of different episodes already. So I feel like by
yeah.
the time this airs, we'll have
Okay.
covered it pretty well. I've talked to
Yeah.
everyone I've talked to has said almost word for word what you said, which is like, how can things stay the same right now? That doesn't even make sense. Like, how can we
Right.
say anonymity and anonymity means keeping people out that need it? Like, that doesn't even
Mhm.
make sense. Like, people need their AA. We have to have these Zoom meetings. There are
Right.
people against that, and then there are people still meeting. So
Right.
it's like,
Well, and
fuck.
yeah, and in terms of like staying anonymous and the level of press, radio, and film, if we're just keeping it at the like, I'm sharing my experience, strength, and hope. I'm not trying to be the authority figure. Like that feels like the most important thing to me. And if that, as long as that's conveyed in the episode, that like
Yeah.
I'm just one person sharing my experience, strength, and hope in AA and how to stay sober during a pandemic. Like I'm not the authority figure. I think that.
No, that's really super important. I feel like, so my tagline thing has been, let's learn some stuff together, because I
Mhm.
wanted to be, hey, I'm going to talk to this person because I'm having a hard time. And like, I know I'm not the only one having a hard time. So I'm going to talk to someone with usually more,
Mhm.
actually, yeah, everyone's had way more sobriety than me. So I'm going to talk to someone with more sobriety. And at the end of the day, like, the fact of talking to another alcoholic is just so important. Like, if you're not doing it, try it. Like, that's
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like that's something
No.
I'm not the authority figure on it, but I'll definitely say every time I talk to somebody, I feel way better. Like,
Mhm.
way better.
I love that. Yeah, I love that as a concept. Like almost like you're just all you're doing is really like recording sort of like support service calls or whatever. Like if that's
Yeah.
all you're doing, you know, if that's like, and that seemed like the point of, you know, the sort of podcast when you reached out was sort of like, I just want to like get some shit on out there about like what people talking about recovery sound like,
Yeah,
you know, and
because everyone's saying when you say I'm having a hard time and everyone's response being, "Oh, just go to more Zoom meetings." Like that's all I was getting, and I saw
right,
for a fact that's what everyone else was getting on. Like I would see on Twitter people reaching out and just reply after reply of like, "Hey, there's a lot of Zoom meetings out there." It's like, well,
right.
there's also a lot of struggle emotionally, and it's not really that fulfilling to sit in those. I mean, it can only
Right.
get you so far.
Well, and that's why I think, at least like locally, I've been really trying to have, like, really work with. I don't know. I just feel like preserving the existing meetings and transitioning existing meetings to Zoom meetings rather than new meetings popping up. Like, that's where the unity stuff has really come up for me is like, how can we maintain unity in this time that's really, really hard, where all of our customs, culture, AA culture, like I'm not, you know, AA has a culture, like, different meetings have different cultures, but like,
It's donkeys in my backpack. Did you get your donkeys? I got my hair did. We got our backpacks.
yeah, but sort of like we all have like these ways that we maintain unity. Like, you know, some meetings go to diners after their meetings, some, you know, and it's like, I don't know how to maintain unity right now. Like, with everybody so far apart. And then it's like my network needs to be more than just my friends. Like I shouldn't just be fellowshipping with my friends. That's not what this program is about.
Right. That's
And
how
so
I've
like,
been feeling, yo.
yeah. And that's what I like loved about you sort of like reaching out was like, oh, like still mixing it up because I think with these Zoom meetings, you can't mix it up. And the whole point of like fellowship and having a recovery community is to like have people who wouldn't normally mix. And like in a pandemic, when I'm like stuck at home, like I'm going to settle to the path of least resistance, which means I'm only with people who I normally would mix with, or like, you know, I'm not challenging myself to sort of like be figuring out other ways to maintain other parts of the fellowship other than just like a Zoom meeting. I would pretty much just be like talking to the people I'm comfortable talking with and like not being of service because to me, being of service means so much more than like making coffee. It's sort of getting uncomfortable and like doing things you don't want to do because as an alcoholic what I want to do is like drink and die, like you know what I mean, so like
My
I have
two
to
favorite
practice
hobbies, the two genders, drinking and dying.
drinking or dying. um
Yeah.
but you know that's what I want to do, so like I have to figure out other ways to get creative and like challenging myself to do something other than those things.
No, that's so true. And you know what just made me think of is like, in a way, when you're a newcomer, you do a lot. I don't know if it's just me. I did a lot of standing around outside of circles of friends and just listening to people talk to each other and just
Mm-hmm.
being like, is this how people discuss things in the world without beer? Because in all
Right.
reality, my only social interactions, I forgot. You know, I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember. I was told I
Right.
was very popular. I have no clue. You know, so you're kind of awkwardly standing outside of a meeting. You don't really know anyone. You're just listening to people talk about stuff, and for the most part, everyone's gonna at least mention recovery-based stuff. Like, yeah, man, keep coming. You hear that all the time, you know.
Right.
So in a way, it's almost just like you're standing on the outside, and you're missing that part of the fellowship of just people existing near you.
Yeah.
It sounds so
And it's really
sad.
intense. No, but it's so intense. And having meetings be like shared with existing networks of people who have phone numbers. And how do we get that guy, Joe, that like, you know, I just see him every night at meetings, but I don't have his phone number or whatever, you know, like
Oh,
I don't know how to
there's
like
so many people I
get
keep
him.
thinking of like that.
And like how many people are falling through the cracks right now, you know what I mean? And there's like a loss there. And not to say that like we collectively aren't doing things about that or anything. It's just I think people are having a hard time with that. And how do you get to those people? Or like I just think there's like so many questions I had when the pandemic started about like how to maintain the fellowship as this like thing that, or just how to just be around people that challenge me and how to maintain enough diversity in the people that I'm hearing from and talking to, that I'm not just like getting in my shit and like leaning back into like old patterns of like being really judgmental. And something that comes up in the fourth step for me a lot is like putting others down to build myself up. That's what I do at baseline is like put others down to build myself up. And like if I'm not in fellowship with sick alcoholics, I forget that I'm also one of them. So I
It's
don't know
so
if that
interesting
makes
because
sense.
it's very rare that you actually hear someone who's working a program the way a program should be worked, and just like the crystal clear vision of yourself that you have when you speak, it's like I don't get that because I'm talking to my sisters and my mom and my friend, and these people are not in recovery. They're not working program, and so to hear somebody be like, here's my one of my character defects, I do this thing. It's a very specific thing that happens when I'm not around other people working a program. It's just crazy. I get the gifts of sobriety. Like, you can see them, and you can't see them when there's no fellowship. You mentioned the thing about you putting together the online meetings locally. I just wanted to know if you could share any more about how that's been going or what that's been like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's where I feel like the hesitancy, because like there is like a service position. I just know for a fact, like at that level of service, people would not want me to be like speaking to that.
Got you. But it
like,
is happening.
Yeah.
Okay. And we
it's
can
happening.
say that there's a transition occurring so that it can be more accessible to others.
Well, yeah, and I think that, so I'll just talk about my experience with it. Having the opportunity to be of service. Let me start over. So like, my mind's moving like 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's just like all the shit I nerd out about. But
this is like, we're in your passion project. This is like, don't ask me about bicycle cards. I might get into all right.
That's right. All your magic.
Oh, I love the magic. Don't tell anyone that. I'm cutting that completely. Okay,
snip, snip.
That's disgusting. Snip, snip. That's right.
But yeah, I think that's the amazing thing about sort of being in a service position where like being of service helps me think about being right sized, right? When I'm in a position of service and it's like all the meetings are shutting down, a lot of people in AA are like older, and I'm like a young person that happens to be in AA. The right thing to do is not just be like to bow out because I don't want to be too controlling or whatever. Like to be right sized doesn't always mean to like take a step back, which I think in like, I've heard people talk about like AA literature often being written for like white men or whatever. And a lot of the times they're like, they have to step back and to be right sized. But like for me and the way I'm socialized.
I've never experienced that. Would you give me an example? I'm just kidding.
I know. And so, and like, I think that, that's not a, hard and fast rule, whatever.
Right.
So, I'm already like,
yeah, I know a couple softies.
Yeah. And like, but, I think there's ways everybody has to like, change size.
Yeah. Sometimes I have
and that
to
could
not
go
try
up
to make
or
a
down.
joke out of something. Like, yeah, you're like trying to like keep us on track, and it's like my brain just can't stop. Just got to make it funny. No, but I get exactly what you're saying. Sometimes to be right size, you actually have to take a step forward and not say, you know what, F you guys. I don't care if you ever put your meetings online. I tried and I did. No, it's like you got to kind of stick with it and be patient.
Mm-hmm.
I got to learn that lesson with our home group 5, sure, because sometimes I be getting frustrated.
Yeah, and figuring out how to like find my voice so much more often than any other part of the program is when I'm being of service, you're going to get checked. It's been interesting that like people have been mostly like nothing but grateful, and it's not like I single-handedly have been doing anything. It's just sort of just like helping facilitate, right? Like I don't see myself as like I'm the president of all the Zoom meetings now or something like that. I'm just like, oh my God. Like when there's a whole like fill it like
for like and like and but like when someone has to say I'm not the president.
Right. And I think that's like sort of thing. It's like, how do you step into service? And like, it helps you like know your actual power, like, and what is my power? What isn't my power? But like, there's 2 parts of the serenity prayer. And I feel like sometimes, I'm really leaning into like what I can't control. And sometimes I'm leaning in like, oh, I can fucking control this. Like I can start a Google Doc and like put some shit on there. Like that's really easy. For so many people in AA, that's really hard. I have power in this and I can do it. And I don't have to just like roll over and be like, there's no meetings, like I can do something about it.
When I got my real good foundation in sobriety was in Baltimore, and they read the traditions at every meeting. They have somebody read the steps and they have somebody read the traditions. Right. And like, to be honest, I low-key kind of miss that. It makes a difference, but only because I think like the whole like AA unity comes first and everything, and it makes you feel like, okay, hey, I know the rules to the club. And I never felt like really confused about the fact that we were just renting out a church basement and everyone there kind of, they knew how to act, they knew we're not taking pictures of blah 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 when they're in the meeting, because I was new in sobriety and I was like starstruck when I saw him. Knowing the traditions and having them fresh in my mind allowed me to know exactly how to act around him. I didn't feel weird. I didn't act out of line without knowing. No old timer had to put me in my place. I put myself in my place just by knowing the traditions. I think that was
and I think that that's where like sort of the other pieces of AA like really come in is like, oh, you know, like even doing this, it's like I could go look at the traditions checklist and be like, is this within the spirit of, because it's not about like the letter of the law of the traditions, it's like the spirit of the stuff, you know, like the steps. It's not about like this is exactly concretely how to do it. It's just like, is this in the spirit? Is this in line with my higher power's will? You know what I mean? And the traditions help us do that on a more group level. And so I think in doing service, it just helps me sort of stay right sized and know my power and know where I don't have power and not like roll over in all of this.
On a personal level, thank you for doing what you've done for the Zoom meetings. It's been really helpful. I know it's a politically charged topic, but it's helpful. It's practical.
There's been so much talk about how AA is behind the times. It seems antiquated to young people, how to get, you know what I mean? And now I feel like people are really getting like thrown right in there, right into that debate. And it's
like Nancy is with the perm. She is losing her mind right now. Like, you know what I mean? I can think of so many Gregs that are pissed, you know, You're like, I hate these Zoom, but it's like, Frank, listen, like,
Right. And it's sort of like, how are we going to do this? Like, how are we going to move forward? And I definitely don't want to like throw out that old school AA like wisdom. And also I'm like, like
right.
People don't know whether to post the passwords or not. Like people are reeling and we need to have some guidance. So
well, I talked to someone who said, you know, there's ways around it. As long as you know how to set your Zoom meeting up safely, but that's the problem, is just like any new technology, people don't know how to use it safely. I mean, I would imagine my IP address has b/ been compromised on several occasions, you know, and I don't have a clue. But we're getting more weary of that kind of stuff with the https:// If there's no S, don't go there. Don't shop there. Okay.
Oh, that's a good, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The S means secure. So if there's no S, it's not secure. And your phone will usually tell you if you
all those fake Instagram shits, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh my god, yeah. I can't even, I have so much to say.
I'm like, I want to know. Literally, that's like a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
We could go into a whole other podcast because I have so many fake ads because I keep clicking on the fake ad because I'm like, this is probably fake.
Okay, don't click on them. Don't click on them, block them.
Okay.
Every time you see one, just block it.
Why?
Well, sometimes actually I have bought a product off of Instagram, to be honest with you.
I have too, and it never came.
Oh, see, some of them are really bad. Okay, there's an episode of Reply All that covers this really well, and now I don't remember the episode of it. It's in the hundreds. Oh god, I'm just
writing it down.
Okay, Reply All. I guess if you probably just did a Google search, Reply All Instagram ads. It talks about basically what is almost a pyramid scheme that's behind them. It's really complicated and kind of genius, but really, it's not technically illegal, but it sucks ass if you're the consumer.
Right. I just feel like we're in like the wild, wild west of the like of the internet. Like people can just steal all your money and nobody can do anything about it.
Yep. Like, the banks are just like, oh, was it fraud? Sounds like it was fraud. We'll just give you your money back because we don't know what else to do.
Right. There's just like literally capitalism is just like taking off. Nobody knows what to do. This is not on the topic of how to stay sober and recovery, but
I think capitalism is so related to recovery. I think it's so related. It's like constantly put pressure on yourself to do everything perfectly, and if you don't, like it's your fault. I don't know. I feel like
also,
once
go ahead. Sell you alcohol.
What's that?
And let's sell you alcohol.
Oh yeah, let's keep liquor stores open right now. That'll be really helpful. Actually, we'll opiate the masses. It's like that's some classic Marxism.
Right. Well, it won't overwhelm emergency rooms with people with DTs. So
you're the second person to say that shit, yo. I didn't even think of that. Like, I can't even take credit for having known that. Or, like, my last guest just said that. I was like, I said, why are liquor stores open? She said that. She's like, can you
Yeah.
imagine if they close them?
Right.
Oh, God. All right. What advice do you have for anyone who might be struggling right now with their sobriety?
Ugh.
This question left a bad taste in your mouth.
It didn't leave a bad taste. I'm just like, I don't fucking know,
It's
bro.
hard.
Like, um,
That's real, though. That's real.
like honestly, like I
Oh, God.
don't know. Like,
Ah.
um,
That's the realest. That's the realest
if you're
one.
like feeling like this, like that's okay. I think is like
Yeah.
my first advice is like, yeah, there's like no norm. Also, but don't get all self pitying about this. Like,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Hey.
like,
Hey.
this is like really unprecedented and really crazy. And also, like, so is like someone's mom dying in their first year of sobriety, which I know, so, you know, like
Yeah.
so many people go through so much stuff, and um, like whatever amount of suffering you're in, like that's not unique. I think people go through various levels of suffering various different times, and you know, there's so many like matrix of power that play out in that, and I'm not gonna like say that like, oh, like, you know, average Joe sort of knows all the suffering of the world, but I just again, like I
Oh,
think
that guy with no feet and no hands and no.
I don't know about
Oh
that.
yeah. Okay. It's Joe. He went through a lot in his first year.
Wait, you talking? Is this someone real?
No, but let's pretend. Listen, you don't have it bad as Joe. If you're out there listening, Joe doesn't have feet or hands. And he's in his
Well,
first
that's not
year.
what I'm trying to say though.
No,
Like
no, no,
that's
I'm
not.
sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
feel
sorry.
like I'm not trying to be like, oh, like someone has it worse than you. I'm just trying to say like you just have to get up in the morning. Like I don't know what to say. Like you literally have to wake up and face the world. Like or you don't. Like you can choose not to do that for another day, but like the day will come where you will have to do
Yeah.
that. So
And
just
you
like
don't have to drink. So whatever,
you
if
don't have to
getting out of
drink.
bed means you're going to the liquor store, stay in bed, bro. Like you don't have to get out of bed
Right.
that bad. Yeah.
Yeah, or like you don't have to do day one again, even if day one
Mm.
happened in the middle of a fucking pandemic. Like,
Oh,
you
facts.
know what
Oh
I mean?
God, yeah. Yeah.
Like you don't have to pick up another drink. And I know that sounds so stupid, but I think I mean I just like that sounded so trite. I was like, what do you mean? Like I'm the biggest, like most suffering emo kid
Yeah.
of the century. Like, you know, just like the eye rolls. Like my sponsor used to make fun of me all the time because I'd roll my eyes like all the time and finally stopped like 4 years in or something. But
Wait, hold
but
on. I
like
have to see if I can hear this music. Oh my God, it's so loud. Can you hear it?
no.
Okay, I don't. They changed genres. They went classic rock. Like, are you guys painting your truck? God damn it.
But yeah, I would just say like, and also like really find phone numbers. Like I know, like usually when you go into an AA meeting, like people hand you phone numbers, and like this is a time where like if you like what you heard someone say, like reach out to them some type of way, or like I think areas really fluctuate on this, but like connecting with specific people because that's really what got me sober. Like meetings, yes, but like I was calling people like every day, you know, in early
Yeah.
sobriety, and just like anytime I had a hard time, like picking up the phone, and that made me feel like a needy bitch. But like also, it helped me feel like it just helped me learn how to like know that like actually it's going to be okay, and like the next day is going to come, and like you just have to pick up the phone and you have to talk to people, and like you can't ask for help, and you're not alone in it. Because I think so much of that self pitying that continues to happen is when I start to feel alone in something. And if you just like have a certain like I had a rotation, like
Yeah.
there was like a group of like 3 or 4 people with like anywhere from like 3 to 5 years of recovery to like decades of recovery that I would just call every time I couldn't get out of bed. And I can't eat something, like I'm, you know, like calling someone to help you like make yourself a sandwich, like whatever you need to do, like you're not bothering anybody, and like it helps the person you're calling to. And I know that nobody ever believes that, but like when I talk to people, like even this conversation feels so helpful because I just hear shit come out of my mouth that like is not going to stay in, that's not going to be said in my head. Like only this stuff comes out of my mouth.
Yeah. It's kind of like
That makes
when
sense.
they say you get more from talking to an alcoholic, they mean it. You know. have
Mm-hmm.
telepathy, I guess. Well, and this in a sense is my cry for help, you know, like I'm like I
Mm-hmm.
want to know how other people are doing it because I simply don't know how to do it, and just even hearing someone say I don't know either is super validating. It's like, whoa, I'm not the only one
Mm-hmm.
who's freaking like bonkers, you know. And the one-on-one stuff, it's funny because all I can think is just slide into the DMs, but like that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Like you're in a giant meeting, you hear someone share, slide into DMs, be like, yo, I'm gonna give you my
Yeah.
number, like I really like what you had to say.
Right.
And I find that so much more helpful than when when you share a whole group, because then only the creeps
Mm-hmm.
come talk to you. Do you ever notice that?
Right.
You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's be like the
Yeah, you're like
creepiest people. Like you're like, I didn't want to talk to you. You didn't sit down once. you
totally.
know?
Yeah, and like even right now, like I mean, this week I fell off a little bit, but like when all this started, my sponsor was like, "Call me every day," and I have like 6 years, almost 6 years, going on 6 years, whatever you want to say, and like I'm calling my sponsor every day, and a lot of the times I'm just leaving a voicemail and saying like, "Call me back" or "Don't call me back," but it's like going back to the basics of like asking for help because or just like reaching out, you know what I mean, because
Yeah.
our nature is to isolate, and like she asked me to do that because she's an isolator and she wants people to be reaching out to her
Huh.
because otherwise she's not going to be talking to people. You know what I mean?
Huh.
Like
Yeah.
it's not just like, sponsors aren't just out here like being martyrs or like, oh, so like humbly doing this, like it saves their lives too. And when people reach out to me, like no matter who it is, like, um, it helps me.
I'm getting a lot. Thank you so much. Like this is super helpful.
Hmm.
I'm trying to see if I have a final question.
Sorry, I talk a lot. I know you said like 40 minutes, but I
Listen,
talk a
wait,
lot inside.
has it been more than 40 minutes? Oh, barely. No, no, no. When I said
Okay.
average 40, I meant most people are over an hour, but I didn't want to scare you.
Okay. Oh, okay. No, I talk a lot. I'm like,
You're not alone. It's more. It's better to have more and cut off than be like, hey, could you say that thing you said again?
what can I say? Sobriety is just my passion project.
Oh my god.
Just kidding. I was like, fuck this. I'm never doing this. And it was the opposite of my passion project for a long time. So,
So, guys, name of this episode, fuck this. No, no, sobriety is my passion project. Would you be
I
offended
go
if
from
I
sobriety. This is my, no, not at all. It's like, that's the spectrum. It's like, some days I wake up and I'm like, I'm sober. The sun is shining. HP is within me. And then some days I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to get out of bed and do what? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
like the spectrum. And now I just know that that's normal, and I'm not like, and I'm a terrible person for that.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy that like you get so used to, like I don't know, it's still so fresh in my mind like how you used to waking up with just like demoralizing shame, and then for the first I would imagine it's going to continue, but for my first 10 months it's just been holy shit, I know exactly everything I did last night, and it feels crazy that I don't have to hate myself for 3 hours now.
Mhm.
Like I can eat whatever I
Right,
want for breakfast because I don't have anything to feel guilty about. So one whole
right.
jar of Nutella, here we go. No, that's not how that works. Nutella is fire though, you can't lie.
True.
I have two questions and you can answer them in any
Hmm.
order.
Cool.
Okay, if you've had any particularly challenging moments, how specifically, like I don't care if it was eat a jar of Nutella, like how specifically did you get through them? And then the other
Hmm.
question is what's helping in general. So, what are you listening to? What are you watching?
I guess I'll get into specific first.
Sweet.
I've had some like really intense moments of like rage, honestly, and that I know it sounds like really and like
You said that
not
so cute. I don't understand.
yeah, and it's really intense and like and it just totally sneaks up on me, and I'm like I like kicked a chair out of anger, and I'm like and it's so funny because I think this is what people talk about when they're talking about layers of the onion, like in my first year of sobriety, like it was like I want to drink every day, and the amount of shame that went along with that statement, and then hearing other people just say like I wanted to drink every day too. And now like, oh, a really hard moment that I had was like getting really really angry, and just yelling like I've never yelled in a long time, and um kicking a chair and feeling like, oh my God, like the amount of shame I felt for doing something like that was really intense. And I like reached out to other people, and like it wasn't even necessarily people in AA. And that's the sort of gifts of this program, is like, because I've learned how to like reach out in AA one day at a time, like now I can like reach out to people who have been my friends for years who I never talked to about anything intimate. Like I'm talking like my college roommate who I've been friends with for like, 5 to 10 years now. I don't know how long. I don't want to do the math right now, but who I like lived with, and who I didn't even know like they kick chairs when they're angry. You know what I mean? Like, and so I can like take the tools of this program and put it other places and sort of like reach out for help and learn how to like, again, be right size and how I reach out for help, and not be like, oh, I'm bothering people, but also not be like, woe is me taking up all the air out of the room. Like I can like show up like and like look people in the eye and be like level with them. And I'm not above, I'm not below. I'm just like looking people in the eye. And I think that's a really big example of where I felt such a debilitating amount of shame for like kicking a chair. And in part because I haven't expressed emotions before. Like emotions are still really new to me. And so doing something like kicking a chair rather than just like drinking and numbing is still really new.
Can I
I
ask
reached out to,
you, on
yeah,
was the chair incident on this past Sunday by any chance?
it was on Saturday.
Okay, because I had a chair incident this weekend and it was Sunday. I threw a chair and I haven't thrown a chair in like, I don't know, at
Right.
least a year. You know, Like,
Yeah. And
I
it's like
got real
really
mad at that
scary to
at
like,
life. Yeah,
right. And it's like no one talks about kicking chairs, right? Like nobody
no.
talks about like, and like, yes, it's like not okay behavior. And also, like, unless we find out ways to sort of dispel the shame, how are we going to do it? And like, that's true for like problematic alcoholic behavior. And that's true for like all problematic behaviors. I just think when I'm like noticing myself doing something that I like don't want to be doing, I can like reach out. So, and it was like, I can't even explain the amount of shame I felt when I had this like screaming kicking a chair situation. I felt so bad about myself. I was like curled up, fetal position, and I like called someone. Okay,
That's,
that's a little dramatic. I'm being a
well,
little
but
dramatic. I'm a
no, but that's
Scorpio,
like
but
it's like with sobriety, you kind of get on like your emotional stability is kind of like next level. Like it's like if you, I don't know if you
Mhm.
know that Vine. It's like, oh man, he on X Games mode. Like that's kind of your sobriety puts your emotional maturity on
Mhm.
X Games mode, bruh. And so then if you kick a chair, it's like not
Right.
landing the 900. It's like Tony Hawk breaking his ankle or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like that was bad, and like you can't be like, oh, like that's the hard like truth about sobriety is like it's a fact finding mission, and you're gonna face facts whether you like it or not. And that's why they say like a belly full of beer with a head full of AA like doesn't work. It's because like once
Yeah.
that veil is lifted, you can't like I could not kick that chair and be like, well, the other person did this and this and this. Like I had to face the fact that like I could not control myself enough to not kick that chair. Like,
Hmm.
and that's such a hard thing to hold by myself. And so why I have to like reach out to someone else. And then when I reached out to my college roommate, they were like, yeah, I kick shit all the time. You know what I mean? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like I'm not like uniquely this horrible shit of a person. I
Yeah.
just am like another bozo on the bus, like they say, that like kicks chairs. And
Yeah. You
and
chair kicker.
we're just all chair kickers in here.
You lint liquor.
So I don't know. That's sort of just like a moment that I had just this like past week where it was like really hard, and I felt so overwhelmed with emotion. And it's okay. Like no matter what's going on, like it's okay because like low key it kind of has to be, and like it just is. Like it is, and it's okay. Um, and
It's
that's not saying like it's morally okay. I'm just like whatever's happening, like you and your higher power can like deal with it. Or like you and your higher power have to deal with it. There's no way around it,
it's like que
no matter how
sera
much you
sera,
drink.
right? Que sera sera. What will be will be.
I've never heard that
Yeah,
before.
it's just not how I learned it, but it would make sense if it was. Kanye West, he has that que sera sera, get a case of
Um,
Ciroc, chase away the pain or whatever, because I'm insane. He probably said that at some point, I'm quite sure.
right.
Poor
Yeah.
guy. I love this idea that you can call someone with something so specific as kicking a chair, and just hearing them acknowledge it is like, oh, like as I almost didn't tell you about the chair thing. And then it's like that's kind of just selfish on my end. Like I'm not
Mhm.
sharing it with you. I'm getting a lot out of you telling me you had a thing with a chair. I'm not even telling you. I just had that happen like less than 4 days ago. Me and a chair really
Right.
got into it. Like I picked the thing up and I tried to, and the chair won, But I wasn't gonna sit
Hmm.
around telling anybody that it was a moment. It was like a lapse, and I don't think I felt ashamed, but I did feel better. No, I don't think
It solved all my problems. I didn't have to call anybody. I just had to throw a
I
chair.
really needed to do that in that moment. Like I just really needed to express my anger and I had no clue how. I think
Mhm.
I know a better way next time. Like I think I'm going to learn that
Right.
didn't feel great in the aftermath, but in the moment it felt like the best I could do. So hopefully I won't have
Hmm.
to go down there again. Yeah.
Right. And now we're like talking about it on a podcast, and I'm like, oh, all these people are gonna judge me. It's like, no, like people
I'm
will
gonna have
sometimes
people
kick
texting
stuff.
me like, "Bruh, I've been kicking chairs too, man."
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, last but not
Another.
least, Rex.
What
Rex,
was the last question?
give me some Rex. What you got?
From Rex.
Yeah,
Oh, like,
it doesn't have to be
um,
recovery related. If it is, even better. But what are
yeah.
you listening to, watching, etc.?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a Scorpio, like I said for a second. So I like get really in my feelings. You mentioned like DBT stuff. So I learned in a DBT group. I was like facilitating with someone once that they were like, sometimes you want to like choose music to either like change your mood or to like fit your mood. And like that was just really helpful
Yeah.
to think about. I like had never thought about that before. I was just always like, no, you just like match your shitty ass emo mood always.
Oh
And then you
man.
know how you're feeling based on like what you decide to like throw on the radio. Like, are you
Crawling
listening,
in my skin.
or like, are you listening to like the
Yeah.
Smiths or like John Denver? Like, that's like how I was like checking in
Oh
with
god.
myself for much of
Hold on, let me
sobriety,
check with my
actually.
neighbors. Hey guys, what are you listening
Yeah.
to?
Oh, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? But I've been really into the Arcade Fire. I guess they're just Arcade Fire now. Arcade Fire's The Suburbs.
Oh
It
yeah.
just it's just such a dystopian album that I really love. That makes me feel like that weird, like subtle suburban dystopia, which I feel like really sums up COVID for me, at
Mm.
least in my particular social location right now.
Yeah. So you're the first person who's given me a really specific album. So shout out. I'm gonna put that on blast tomorrow while I'm
Well, and
doing the dishes.
I listened to that all the time in high school. So like just driving around listening to that and being like, I just want a daughter before like the world dies or something. Forget the lyric. You know what I mean? I
Oh,
just want
that's
to.
a lyric? Wow, that's too
Yeah.
real.
I mean,
That's
it's something like that. It's like I want a daughter while I'm still young, like
Oh,
before all the
okay.
beauty's gone or something. Um, but like that's the kind of stuff that just or like starting, yeah, whatever. I could nerd out about
No,
lyrics all day,
I mean,
but
I feel it. Whenever it's early November, I have to listen to early November. It's like
right.
that's
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I've been listening to a lot of emo music as well. Like, I mean, I know that's more like indie, but like emo music for sure. Um,
Do you see the shirt I'm wearing right now?
I did see that shirt.
This is circa
I was like,
2005. It's got the tour
mm-hmm.
dates on the back and everything.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just like someone should have thrown this away for me already. You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised not one of my girlfriends of all the whatever, just one of them should have been like, you really shouldn't have that anymore.
You didn't even say what it was. You're just mysteriously telling people what it is.
Oh. That's because I'm embarrassed.
I think we should just keep it a secret. Nobody
All right,
knows.
you guys have to
Sorry. Should have been
guess.
there.
Yeah, you have to guess what band from 2005 is embarrassing enough now, but was actually pretty cool then.
I don't think it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
I still
okay.
feel like a nerd for not listening. Like, because they weren't like my band. Like, I had other bands that were my band, and that was not one of
Oh,
them.
what was your band?
And Say Anything, which I still wear the hoodies all the time.
Oh my god, I like Say Anything so much. I have
Yeah.
Alive with the Glory of Love on like 45 different playlists.
Yes.
'Cause it's just so
It's
good.
it's actually so funny because now I can't even listen to them unless I'm in a really particular mood. Like, there's just so much my high school
Yeah,
angst
it's like,
album.
so this is sad, but my absolute all-time favorite band from middle school and high school was Brand New, and
Mm,
now they're low-key, maybe high-key at this point, canceled. So it's
yeah.
like, but it's still, whenever I get nostalgic,
Hmm.
it's just, there's, first of
Totally.
all, it's amazing. It's such good music. Yeah, I don't know,
Hmm.
but it
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Off the record, like, what is your stance on listening to canceled bands?
Shit, I'll say it on the record. I don't know. I think that, the albums were already my favorite albums before I knew anything. I'm not going to buy a ticket to
Hmm.
support them anymore. I won't buy any of their new stuff or probably even listen to it,
Right.
to be honest. But I can't, there's nothing that can replace The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. Like no other
Hmm.
album does for me what that album does for me. So it's arguably, I think, the best album of all time.
Hmm.
It sucks that it sucks. It's like Louis C.K. being one of the
Totally.
best comedians ever, and then his fucking
Right.
shit. Well, I always admired the crap out of him. I thought he was such a good writer.
Hmm.
He's still a good writer, but I'm not gonna go to his shows.
Yeah, no, and I hear you. And it's funny because Brand New was actually one of those emo bands that I didn't listen to that I always like never like they just never got on my list and I just got into them and then found out they were canceled.
Oh my god! But that album though,
um
I can't. I feel weird about recommending it, but I'll tell you, if you listen to it, it's like so good.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it just feels like the canceled thing just feels really hard because especially like as an alcoholic like I should be canceled.
oh, I cancel myself every day.
Right. Like I like feel like the restorative piece of it feels really complicated and
Yeah.
it just sucks that our world can't hold like restorative stuff and canceling is like the only thing we can do right now and sometimes you have to cancel like that's what happens but also I don't know that's a whole
Yeah,
other.
sometimes you have to. I had a situation with because like I would always forgive a student no matter how bad the thing was. But I had a student do
Hmm.
something that it was unforgivable, and I loved the kid. He was a great kid, but I had to have him transferred out of my class because it was like the only
Hmm.
way to be restorative with the rest of the class. They needed
Hmm.
that to happen so that they could feel safe, and like I don't know. It felt weird. It was like I
Hmm.
forgive this kid, but this is the consequence that has to happen. So it makes sense to me.
Hmm.
I think we should have consequences for our actions, but
Right.
I don't know. Break it, fix it. That's what I always. If you break
Yeah,
it, you gotta fix it.
totally. So that's one racket Arcade Fire, The Suburbs. I don't know. I don't watch very much. I mean, I watch the same TV over and over, like The Office over and over.
The
I've
Office.
started watching Bob's Burgers again.
Word. I actually never watched that show.
Bro, you got to do it.
Is that I? All right. I don't know if it's my style.
So it's like, okay, what's your favorite show then?
Favorite show like ever? Okay, my favorite show.
Like, what TV do you watch?
For comedies, I like Parks and Rec probably the most. I low key really like How I Met Your Mother, but I feel like that's embarrassing to admit. I like Game of Thrones. Black Mirror is my number
Hmm.
one all time favorite show.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't know. I'm like
Maybe.
bad at recommending shows.
I'll try.
I
Everyone
really
I like
recommend.
likes it, so you know what I mean.
I really recommend watching 5 minute tasty videos on Facebook.
Ooh, I'm gonna write that one right now, right here.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what they're called. They're just like those dumb, like cooking, whatever,
I know
time
exact. I
lapse
follow a
videos.
bunch of them on Twitter, and I completely forgot about those. They be making
It's just
nachos look mad good.
like they'll just like I'm like today I think I watched something on like painting a fake marble countertop. Like I'm just watching the most random shit
Yo,
on
that's
these
like
videos.
adult ASMR. That's what that is.
You're right. You're right. It's like visual. Nintendo
Word.
Switch and Board Game Arena. That's my other rec.
Board
It's
game
online
arena.
boardgamearena.com. They don't have a lot. Just online board games. If you just Google like how to play board games online, I'm sure different things will pop up.
All right, word.
Um, I've just been like calling my friends and being on the computer, which is why I bought these blue light glasses.
Oh, I was
Um,
gonna say those look different, but I didn't want to embarrass
yeah, I
myself.
don't wear glasses. And it's also it's my other recommendation. If you're having to be on Zoom meetings all day, just buy blue light glasses. It feels like they're my armor. I don't know. I've just loved these glasses.
All right. For the folks listening at home, Emily just pushed those the said glasses all the way
Oh, that matters. Yeah, I just really feel like that's been me all the
tasty
time.
videos.
Yeah, I just feel like these blue light glasses are really helpful.
No, but I've actually heard that a lot. So there we go. Those are some
Yeah.
great Ricks. All right, these headphones are killing my head. I don't know if you can tell. I've been
Okay.
fiddling with them. My ears don't fit. I have these big giant Italian ears and they don't fit in anything. It's like
That's so
I
frustrating.
know.
My ears are really small.
Oh
I
my
don't
god,
know
your
how
ears
how
are
can I
so small. We should, you know what we should
This
do?
is an AirPods case next to my ear.
Yo, your ear's smaller than an AirPod case. And my ears can't fit in these big ass headphones. So as you can hear, the moral of today's story, guys, is alcoholics come in all different shapes and sizes, but they all kick chairs.
We all kick chairs. Don't do it. I mean, do it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
if you do it, don't. It's just like drinking. Like, if you fuck up, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just like call someone and go to a meeting.
Mm.
But like, try not to.
Yeah, don't be like, man, I felt so shitty about kicking that chair, so I'm gonna kick
like
four more
I'm gonna kick another chair. Just like reach out, bro. Like, don't.
In this world that we created, people are addicted to kicking chairs. It's genetic.
Right. Put down the alcohol, pick up the chair. That's how I got sober.
But like dead ass though. But like that, there's always a chair for you in any room.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say, right? Like, claim your seat. That's what that means, right? Throwing chairs.
Well,
I'm claiming my motherfucking
yeah, just right. Yeah, kick your chair, everyone. That's what we need you to do.
Yeah. Claim your seat, kick your chair, keep coming.
Recovery, unity, service.
Recovery, unity, service.
Cheers. All right.
Yeah. Did we even talk about getting sober? Did we talk about sobriety?
Yeah, like a ton.
Okay.
We actually probably talked about, because it doesn't have to be about how to get sober. Like what we did a lot of was structural stuff. Like, what do you do now that you can't just tell a newcomer to go to a meeting, you know?
Right.
People will hear what they need to hear. That's what I always...
Yeah.
People pick up on, they'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe that you also listen to Brand New. I listen to Brand New. I should stop drinking, you know?
Yeah.
They'll be like,
or like,
yeah. Go ahead.
You go.
I can't. I'm making myself laugh because I'm dumb. All right.
So sorry if I wasted your time, everybody.
Oh my God, I'm cutting that. That's not allowed.
If this episode was a total waste of your time, talk to Ange, not my problem.
Oh my God, you know how good I am at editing? This shit's gonna sound fire.
Well, you know, it's like in The Office when, like, right? Do you know that one episode? Do you watch The Office?
I have seen The Office.
Oh, never mind. There's just this one episode, you know,
what
how they do those cuts.
Is it early on?
I don't know how early on, but Ryan just looks at the camera and says like 6 things. And he's like, I don't know, just use whatever one works. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't leave here without making an Office reference. I'm just like, here, I'm just going to give you some sound bites.
Okay, wait, I gotta send you this TikTok.
Somebody
did this thing where they were like, Pam, what's his name? Pam and Jim. And they were like, best Pam and Jim moments. And it was like, now that we got your attention, and they're holding up a bunch of spices and they're like, white people, use them.
That is literally me in a nutshell. It's like, just, if you make an Office reference, I'm paying attention.
Yeah, and also potatoes and meatballs, everybody.
I know. Frozen potatoes and meatballs, The Office. I mean, it's like the most white people recommendation I could give.
Oh, you already did. It was The Suburban.
Oh, Arcade Fire, the suburbs. Yeah, listen to some Arcade Fire. You know, meatballs and potatoes, and just snuggle in with a good book.
Don't forget your blue light glasses, everyone.
Just spend $50 on blue light glasses on the internet. Talk a lot about Zoom fatigue with your colleagues.
Zoom fatigue, bro.
Now I'm just making fun of therapists, but
it's so real.
I'm like, the biggest problem facing in the pandemic is screen time. Screen time is killing everybody in the pandemic. So we just really have to like modulate our screen time, because that's really what kills people.
Oh my God, you sound like an anti-vaxxer, dead ass. Stay grateful, everybody.
Stay grateful, even when you kick chairs.
Hey, all right, we're gonna end on that. All right, and that's it. Thanks so much for joining us. Special thank you to Emily for being on the show and for all of your kind words of wisdom. Join us next week. We're having a conversation with sober travel writer and marketing expert Allie Henkel. Really excited for that. She's been a great help in the Instagram progress. Speaking of Instagram, please go and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We have a Facebook page you can hit like on. It really helps. The more positive feedback I get, the more, the easier it is to work on it. You know how it is, y'all. You know how it is. All right. Stay healthy, stay sane, stay safe, and just don't pick up today, no matter what.